Hello, viewers. Welcome to another awesome FGN Qikvid. My name is Paul Chindocha. Here with this episode, we are, just finishing up, the whole Gamescom hype and everything that just happened with Gamescom. A lot of games to talk about, but now we're starting to get, certain updates to games. Games that have already come out or games that are going to come out, and a couple of them interesting, a couple of them, definitely unexpected. So let's get into it. So the first thing that I saw really, really disappointed me. Star Wars Battlefront, a game that has been announced for a while. A lot of people looking forward to it. I know a lot of my friends have pre-ordered it. I haven't pre-ordered it yet. With games like that, I usually tend to sit back and kind of wait to see what's going to happen with it. And I feel like I kind of did the right call. EA announced that Battlefront will be 90%, if not the whole game, will be online only, meaning only multiplayer. They said that there will most likely not be a campaign mode or a single player mode. Why? Why? And you would think that, EA would learn, and with other games that came out that don't have a single player campaign mode, just to name two of them, there's Evolve and Titanfall. Those two games, it's so much potential, so much hype, looked amazing, but the lack of that campaign mode just hindered the game, and just the playability to those games just didn't add on to it. I'm a diehard Star Wars fan, and I wanted a campaign mode, like a story mode, something to immerse myself into it. When I play video games, I do it to kind of get away from reality a little bit and just immerse myself into this brand new world. And why not the Star Wars? That world that Star Wars has, it's perfect for the single player campaign mode. And they just said no to it. I don't know how I feel about that. I know I talked to Kevin, and he said that he was thinking about taking it off his pre-order list just because there's only so much you can do with a game when it's only online. And it I don't know. I mean, it's the first time I hear about this. I'm gonna hope to see another article or something that states otherwise. I mean, fingers crossed. I hope EA doesn't stick with the whole online only thing. Just hoping. So, and a perfect example for that, the next topic or the next update is Witcher 3, which is a game that the story mode is amazing, and over 150 hours of gameplay. And one of the more popular things on the PC version is the mods. The gamers going and modding their own games and adding their own twist to it, whether it be with texture packs or actual, you go inside the game script and change certain things here and there. So, the people at CD Projekt Red decided that they're going to create their own mod tools and just give it to gamers to make it easier for them to mod it. Now, the part that catches my attention is when asked if they were going to do the same thing for console, they didn't deny it. They said, well, it's definitely an idea. When you do go into console to mod those games, it's a little bit more complicated because it's harder to access the game files, because it's stored on the console as opposed to, where the PC can go directly to the file and just mod it from there. I mean, it's an interesting idea though if they do bring the whole mod thing to console, because it again adds to the playability. You can change certain things in the game, change the textures, change the way it looks. It just adds to the nostalgia of the game. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully they do come out for console, so that way I'll go in and tweak it here and there. And speaking of tweaking, Super Mario Maker. Again, another game with so much hype for Nintendo, where you can go in and create your own levels and whatnot. So they announced that you're going to start off the game with a basic set of creation tools. It didn't say how many, it didn't say what they were. But in order to unlock the whole set of the creation, so every single tool to create, you would have to play the game for 9 days. And, at first I was like, wait, hold on. 9 straight days of playing? I don't know if I could do that. Well, it turns out that within the game, they're placing a minimum of 5 minutes a day. So you would have to play the game 5 minutes each day for 9 days in order to unlock all of it. And that is just in order to get the players to slowly get used to the tools and, not get overwhelmed with all the tools. So, I like that idea. I think it's a pretty good idea, so that way each day you play, whether it's 5 minutes, and we all know that once you play a game, it's not going to be 5 minutes. It's going to be, longer than that. So each day you'll get time to just perfect each set of tools that you get. So that way by the time you finish the 9th day, you have all the tools together and you'll be able to be making amazing levels, which, I like it. I definitely think it's a good idea for Nintendo. They did good with this, and they really, really did. Now, this next topic is definitely something that I think Kevin won't be so happy about. I haven't talked to him about it yet. I'll definitely make sure to bring it up on the Hey Listen podcast. So after 5 years of Call of Duty being exclusive to Xbox, and I mean exclusive as in, coming on an Xbox first. After 5 years. And we thought, it was just going to start with Black Ops 3. So it turns out there's going to be a DLC for Advanced Warfare called Reckoning. That game, that DLC is going to mark the first time that a Call of Duty anything gets exclusivity only to, everything else other than Xbox. So PC, PS3, PS4. I don't know how I feel about that. I understand what, Sony's trying to do. It's turning out to be a really gritty battle between, Microsoft and Sony to try and get that upper hand. And it's I feel like this is definitely, in the long run, not just with the DLC, but with everything in the long run, it is going to hinder Microsoft. Or maybe not so, big, but it's going to be something because Call of Duty has such a following and so many fans that, there are gamers out there that I know will switch to the PlayStation just for that. We'll have to see what the extent of the exclusivity is going to be, if it's just for a period and then, Xbox gets it, or if it's, and so to kind of finish it off, I did start this, Qikvid with, Star Wars Battlefront, which to me was a disappointment. But I'm going to finish it off with another Star Wars topic, and a good one. And it got me really excited because I have talked before in the past in the podcast that I would love to see a Star Wars RPG, something like KOTOR, in case you know, Knights of the Old Republic. And they announced it that EA Montreal put a team together, and they're going to be working with the creative team that made the Assassin's Creed. Didn't say if it was the actual team that's working on it now or if they worked with it in the game in the past. I'm pretty sure it's a team that worked in one of the previous games. But they're going to get together and they're going to collaborate and they're going to come up with a Star Wars RPG game. Yes! Finally! I'm just so excited about it just because, you have Battlefront. Yeah, that appeals to, Call of Duty gamers and, Halo gamers and first-person shooter. Okay, that's fine. But gamers like myself, I like my RPG. I like my, role playing, my collecting, my adventures, all that good stuff. And for them to announce that there is going to be a Star Wars one of that, it's just amazing. And they said it's going to be along the lines of a game that was going to come out for Star Wars. That didn't. That got scrapped around the time that Star Wars, the brand Star Wars, got sold to Disney, and that other game was, the storytelling of Boba Fett. And so they said it's going to be along those lines. They didn't confirm if it was going to be the same storyline, if it was going to be the same overall gameplay. They did have footage for that game out, and I've seen it. So if them saying it's along those lines, that clip looked amazing. So if they can do something along those lines and add to it and make it into a big world, and considering the fact that they said that Battlefront's not going to have a story mode, Battlefront's not going to have a campaign mode, maybe make up for it by putting all that effort into creating an original story or something like that in this RPG. Just because until I saw that announcement for the Star Wars RPG, I thought to myself, well, although EA kind of been dropping the ball with their stories, with Battlefield, and they can't really drop the ball with a Star Wars title because there's so much lore and so much storytelling, and there's so much material already there for them to choose from. And so I was kind of skeptical as to why, but now that they're announcing that there's going to be a Star Wars RPG, it's like, okay, maybe, they knew that beforehand and they decided to do a online game in Battlefront and then a, story-driven, completely, single-player game in that RPG. I mean, we'll have to wait and see, and then hopefully it comes out to be good. If not amazing. I'm definitely ecstatic for it. If they were to announce that I could go ahead and pre-order the game even though they haven't even announced the name for the game, I would go and just be like, here, take my credit card and ring me up for it. I'm definitely on board. But yeah, I mean, that pretty much sums up this quick vid. Hope you found this quick vid a good one. Definitely leave a comment below and let us know what you think. And let me know what you think. Definitely trying to strive to create a better experience each time. And again, don't forget to tune in next Wednesday for our next Hey Listen podcast, where me, Kevin, Doug, and Sebastian will sit down and we'll talk about topics. And maybe some of these topics will be on there. Definitely let us know what you think we should talk about, if you have any ideas, or if any of these topics should be brought up. I know for a fact I will be bringing up the Call of Duty exclusivity now being part of PlayStation 4, because I know Kevin is a really hardcore Call of Duty gamer. But yeah, tune into the podcast. Let us know what you think. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and yeah. So this has been Paul Chinocho with FGN. Game on.